The presidency is famously a full-time job. If you follow it, you know there's those shots they show from the first to the fourth year or the eighth year, how it ages people, the hard work, 24/7, the job follows you wherever you go. But in Donald Trump's case, he is moonlighting and clearly spending his time on other side hustles. We are in the middle of this governing period, but Trump is trying to enrich himself. He has a new fragrance line called Victory 4547, referencing the times when he actually did win the Electoral College. You'll notice 46 is not a part of it. $249 a bottle is steep for any fragrance. Trump says the product is all about winning, strength, and success. And he has been doing this kind of branding exercise for a long time, a kind of a language all unto itself.
When it comes to great stakes, I've just raised the stakes.
My new game is Trump, the game.
The God Bless the USA Bible. At Trump University, we teach success. That's what it's all about.
That's the real deal. That's the real deal.
Today, we're here to introduce Trump Mobile.
We are announcing the launch of Trump Coins, a true symbol of American greatness.
Is there any amount of wealth you can reach where you stop hawking things with your name on it? The sneakers, the watches, the Bibles, the guitars, steaks, gold phones, a educational program that was falsely sold as a university and led to tens of millions of dollars in settlements. That one actually crossed legal lines. Financial disclosures show that Trump has made tens of millions of dollars from these products, plus over $50 million alone in crypto, which he once derided as a scam run by scammers until he joined them. The meme coin that he has opens up many questions about conflicts of interest, red flags, because Trump has used that coin, more so than the cologne or this other stuff, to bring in people to evade campaign finance rules. The meme coin investors, including foreigners who want to control policy in the United States, get special access. Guests telling one reporter they attended with the intent of influencing Trump and financial regulations. It's unlike anything we've seen in history. To be clear, there have been much more minor, smaller versions of scandals about self-enrichment, which only speaks to how Trump, as a celebrity-style president, who, of course, has been indicted, not convicted of anything except the New York case, which, remember, involved business allegations. But this president has obviously gotten in more trouble than others, but has ultimately gotten away with more than others and doesn't seem to have any other limitation on the idea that he should just be focused in his second term on doing this full-time job. Another cryptocurrency mining and holding company backed by Trump's family has raised over $200 million, again raising the question of whether they would get that money if their father wasn't president right now. And if not, it raises questions about ethics and conflicts of interest. Federal ethics rules already ban all of this kind of stuff for lawmakers, meaning every member of Congress. They don't constrain a president as much, but no prior president has ever tried to enrich themselves this much, this far.
Well, this is certainly Donald Trump's priority. I mean, he has turned this into the product placement presidency. You know, there's an underrated movie from the 90s called Dead Presidents, which is about a bank heist movie, and it refers to the dead presidents on the currency. Well, this president cares nothing more than about the dead presidents.
About the dead presidents. Also, if I may, Che, I know the movie. Big Rick Ross song, Dead Presidents. And back on Nas's Illmatic, early 90s, he said, I'm out for presidents to represent me. He meant dead presidents, a sign of wealth. I appreciate your references.
Yeah, it's a very underrated movie, I believe, by the Hughes brothers. It was their follow-up to Menace to Society.
Yeah, a very hip-hop movie. I don't know if that's why it occurred to you, but we welcome that on the beat. All movies, of course.
Well, yeah, it's also a heist movie because that's kind of what Donald Trump has been doing with his presidency. He has been legally heisting money into his own bank account. And there is definitely a policy dimension to this. I mean, why is this legislation going through Congress? Why is Donald Trump pushing these huge tax cuts coupled by these Medicaid cuts that will gut rural hospitals and nursing homes? Because he stands to personally benefit from it. His family stands to personally benefit from it. If you go back to the first term, why did he go along with Paul Ryan's tax cut? It's because he got a tax cut. that explains virtually his entire presidency. It's all about himself. It's all about me. And I think that mentality, you see it now seeping into Republicans. I mean, Lisa Murkowski, she was basically like, I'll vote for this as long as Alaska's okay. Forget about the other 49 states in the country.
Yep.
It's all about Alaska. It's all about my prospects. That bloodthirstiness has become a big part of MAGA.
I wonder if, you've been a Democratic advisor for so long, whether you think there's a political vulnerability here, because there are some issues where in government people might do what they think is right. But it's an open question whether Stephen Miller cares about whether they're being really tough with ICE enforcement. He would agree with his critics. He would say, yes, that tough and tougher, which doesn't mean he's right about the politics, but he certainly welcomes that brand. Here it's the opposite. It may be very obvious to people in the factual landscape what we just went through. I reported some of the numbers. But politically, Trump seems intent on telling people he's not doing this stuff for his benefit, which is a lie. He's lying about how the crypto scheme and other things work. Here's his White House press secretary.
I think it's frankly ridiculous that anyone in this room would even suggest that President Trump is doing anything for his own benefit. He left a life of luxury and a life of running a very successful real estate empire for public service. It's absurd for anyone to insinuate that this president is profiting off of the presidency. This president was incredibly successful before giving it all up to serve our country publicly. His
profiteering through the government seems to strike a nerve there. And what she's saying is fact-check false. Whatever his prior job was, he has been the most blatant in abusing power to self-enrich. I'm not saying he's been convicted of a crime there. We can talk about how the rules work. But she is wrong to deny it. It's all been counted up.
Yeah, I mean, Donald Trump was not a billionaire 10 years ago, but he's certainly a billionaire, a multi-billionaire now. He has basically made $1 billion a month for the first 3 months of his presidency. I saw an estimate of $3 billion that was coming in through just the first 3 months of his presidency, which is remarkable how much money he has made off of all these products and all these lifestyle accoutrements that he is selling through the presidency. But I think politically, if you think about it, the Democratic Party was very successful going at Mitt Romney, saying he's a rich man who helps himself and rich people like him, and he doesn't care about you. Well, Donald Trump is Mitt Romney, but in a Vince McMahon costume. And we are being thrown off by the Vince McMahon element of Trump because he associates himself with all of these different cultural pursuits like professional wrestling and ultimate fighting. We see that, we see his style, and we don't really see his actual policies. His actual policies are all about enriching him and people like him.
Yeah. So if he's Vince McMahon mixed with Romney, who is Fiddler on the Roof Tevye?
That's an interesting question.
Bernie, maybe.
I would actually, what?
I said maybe Bernie.
Yeah, I think, you're right. Actually, Bernie actually does have that aspect of it. And you look at how Donald Trump has enriched himself and how this legislation is moving to enrich more billionaires like him. And you wonder, why did so many young people vote for Zoran in New York? They're just completely turned off by all this politics that we're seeing in Washington. And they're also unhappy with the Democratic Party that is not making a strong, aggressive case against it.